Thanks to a great partnership between the Owensboro Public School System and the International Bluegrass Museum, the Bluegrass in the Schools program is back at the Owensboro Public School System. Recently, the Vicky Vaughn Band performed at Newton Parrish Elementary.
Good morning, everybody. How are y'all doing today? Come on, guys. It's really cold outside. We've got to get going. How are you guys doing? This is a big, loud room. We really like that. My name is Chris Langdon. I'm from the Bluegrass Museum. We're very excited to bring Bluegrass in the Schools back to you guys again for another year. We have a fantastic band behind me that's going to play some really good music, teach you a little bit about the history of Bluegrass, so we're going to have some fun this morning. Before we get started, I have to thank some of our sponsors. Of course, the board members and the trustees and everyone down at the museum, the Michael E. Horn Family Foundation, the Jubilation Foundation, the Lester E. Yeager Charitable Trust, and our good friend Randy Lanham, a true friend of Kentucky music that sets all this stuff up and helps everything out. Also want to let you guys know, if you like the music that you're hearing tonight, you want to hear it again, you can tell your parents that they will be playing down at the Bluegrass Museum tomorrow night, and tickets are still available. You can have your parents call the museum and we'll get you all set up and you guys can come see them again. So without further ado, we're going to have some fun. Ladies and gentlemen, the Vicky Vaughn Band.
Hey guys, you want to hear some music? Yeah! I couldn't hear you. What was that? Yeah! Good. Let's kick it. Shine on the world that's gone and say goodbye. Moon of Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the world that's gone and prove them true. That was an example of bluegrass music, and a name that you may have heard before is Bill Monroe. He's the man who created that type of music. Can you all say his name with me? Bill Monroe! Great job, and y'all remember that. There's going to be a game later. So, Bill Monroe was from your state and mine, Kentucky, a little town called Rosine. And let's talk a little bit about Kentucky. So, back in 1775, a really long time ago, there's another name that you'll need to remember. His name was Daniel Boone. Can y'all say that for me? Daniel Boone! That's great. He found Kentucky a long time ago. He lived in Virginia first, and he crossed the Appalachian Mountains and found Kentucky. And its first settlement, the first town in Kentucky ever, was called Boonesboro. And this is the kind of music that you could have heard in Boonesboro. That kind of music is called old time. Can y'all say that with me? Old time! Great job. It heavily influenced bluegrass music, which came later. And who created that? Great job. Well, old time music came over with America's very first settlers. It came from places like England and Scotland and Ireland. And the way that they remembered the songs from their countries was they heard them all throughout their lives and they know them by heart. And they're still played today, aren't they, Karina? Karina remembers songs like that. That one was called Arkansas Traveler. So, Bill Monroe probably was hearing old-time music at a very early age, and that's how he got the idea for bluegrass music. And he created a band with his brothers. Is anybody here the youngest in their family? Me too. Well, so was Bill Monroe. We have something in common with him. He was the youngest in his family, and his brothers chose their instruments in the band before Bill did. And he got left with what Dave is holding. This is a mandolin, and he created bluegrass music with this instrument. So he got stuck with an instrument and ended up being very, very successful with it and very famous. He went on to create a band, a very famous band that was even on the Grand Ole Opry called the Bluegrass Boys. Can y'all say that with me? Bluegrass Boys. Yes, that was Bill Monroe's very famous band. Karina, do you want to sing a song that the Bluegrass Boys recorded?
Yeah, here's a song that they recorded a real long time ago, and it's about a guy going back to his sweetheart. It's called "It's Mighty Dark to Travel."
named Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs. Lester played what Caroline is holding, the guitar, and Earl Scruggs is played what Kyle is holding, a banjo. They left the Bluegrass Boys and later formed a very successful and a very influential band to bluegrass music called Flatt and Scruggs. And Caroline is going to sing one of their songs for you. Well, you are seeing the instruments that usually make up a bluegrass band, and we're going to tell you a little bit about those. Serena?
All right, now I've been told that some of you might know what this is, and some of you might even play it. How many? Raise your hand if you're in the program here, play the violin and fiddle. All right, that is great. That's awesome. Well, I know you're probably pretty familiar. This is called either a fiddle or a violin, depending on what style you're playing. And in bluegrass music, this is kind of the instrument that everything is based around, or was based around. When Bill Monroe was little, he would go to see his Uncle Penn, who played the fiddle, and he would hear these fiddle tunes, and he wanted to play them on the mandolin. So that is kind of the first things that Bill Monroe was hearing directly from other people was fiddle music. And in bluegrass, the fiddle plays the melody of the song, and it also provides a rhythm that kind of drives the music along with the bow like this. And that's called the shuffle bow. And the fiddle can also play a chop, like some of the things I was doing, play a rhythm like a drum, and play long bow notes and double stops. Stuff like that. And that's kind of the first things that, the first kind of instrument that Bill Monroe was around and wanted to play like. And the fiddle works with the banjo to kind of drive the music, and I'll let Kyle tell you about the banjo.
Y'all know what this is called? know, she just told you. But you've probably seen one before living around here. This is called a banjo. And the banjo is kind of, the way you see it right now is an American instrument. It was put together like this in America, but the original idea for the banjo sort of came from Africa, where they have these things where it's kind of like a drum. See how this looks kind of like a drum? But then it's got a bunch of strings stretched on it. In Africa, they would take a gourd and like a cow skin and stretch it over there, and then have a couple of strings. And so when an instrument built kind of like that made it over to America and kind of ran into these other instruments with more strings and more notes, someone kind of put all that together and turned into this thing that we call the 5-string banjo. And then there came along this guy named Earl Scruggs. Has anybody ever heard of Earl Scruggs? No, that's all right. You're hearing about him now. Earl Scruggs he kind of came up with a way to play the banjo that was better than anyone else had played it before, and everyone liked it so much that they tried to copy what he did. And Bill Monroe, who we're talking about a lot, he liked what Earl Scruggs did so much that he said, "Hey, buddy, I want you in my band." And so that's kind of what helped form bluegrass music the way we think of it. And the way Earl Scruggs played the banjo sounded kind of like this. Y'all want to hear about another one of these instruments, like maybe the guitar?
Morning, my name is Carolyn. I play the guitar in this band, and there's 6 strings on this guitar. The first 6-string guitar was made in Spain, actually, and eventually traveled over to America in the 20th century. And what's cool about the guitar in Bluegrass is while the fiddle is sometimes playing 1 or maybe 2 notes at a time, and the banjo is playing 1 at a time, I get to play 6 notes at a time to really make it a big full sound. So the bluegrass guitar kind of keeps a rhythm like this. I kind of work with the bass, keep the band on track, and then sometimes you get to do little noodles like this and have some fun. But the guitar just kind of keeps everyone on track, and it's a really nice instrument to play while you're singing. It's quite nice.
This is called the upright bass. It has a lot of other names that you could call it. You could call it the stand-up bass, the bass fiddle, or the doghouse bass. That's the funniest name you can call it. And it's originally from Germany, but when it first came to America, it was used in Louisiana with Dixieland jazz music. And it took the place of a tuba in a Dixieland jazz band. If somebody didn't have a tuba, they would play the tuba notes on this. And in a bluegrass band, the way that this works is kind of like a drum. It keeps the beat with the mandolin usually. Dave, do you want to show them how that works?
I'd love to.
It'll play on the opposite beat, or opposite part of the beat as the mandolin. So that's the role of the bass in a bluegrass band. And some very famous people who have played the bass one of them was in Bill Monroe's very famous band. What were they called again? Bluegrass Boys. Great job, you're listening. And he has a funny name too. His name was Cedric Rainwater. He played the bass in that band. It's funny. And a very influential man now in bluegrass today who plays the bass, his name is Edgar Meyer. And classically with a bow, like Karina uses with her fiddle. Do you want to tell them about the man?
Yeah.
Hi guys, I'm Dave. This is the mandolin. Do you guys like the mandolin? Yeah! And
why shouldn't you, of course. So the mandolin comes from Italy originally. It was played very romantically like this. You could be sitting in a cafe somewhere having a sandwich. Maybe a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I don't know. What a sandwich. And then Bill Monroe saw a mandolin in a pawn shop because the mandolin made its way over to America about 100 years ago. And there were all sorts of mandolin orchestras, like they have orchestras for violins, they have orchestras for tubas, they had mandolin orchestras. So then Bill Monroe found it, and he played it really differently because he came from the South in America, and he had a whole different thing because he heard the fiddle. And he all of a sudden was going... And he played it so differently, and everybody loved it. So he started this band like we've been talking about, the Bluegrass Boys. And then years went by, and other mandolin players started playing, and they came up with other styles, and they would do stuff like this. And then there was a guy named Sam Bush, and he's from Kentucky, and he liked rock and roll music. He listened to the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, who you'll hear about for years to come, and they played like this. So that's the mandolin. And I think we're going to play a mandolin tune for you now. This is a tune by Bill Monroe that he learned from a harmonica player called the Evening Prayer Blues.
Bluegrass today has taken many different directions since. It's influenced by other types of music like jazz and western swing and country music. And you can hear this new direction that Bluegrass is taking here in Owensboro at Rump in June. They have a Bluegrass festival here. And the subject matter that new Bluegrass music takes, it's influenced by rivers. So you have one here in town, and there's one, there are rivers everywhere. So the song titles are rivers, and the songs are about rivers. What was that again? What body of water? Rivers. Yes, great job. Kyle, do you want to sing a song about rivers?
I would love to. Well, like Vicki was saying, this music, people write about, in folk music, people kind of write about the things that they do in their day-to-day life. And a lot of people used to work on the river and used to work on boats on the river, especially before there was big trucks on the highway. There was big boats taking things down the river. And so this is a song written by a fella who used to work on boats, moving things up and down the river.
Did you practice a lot when you were younger?
I practiced a lot, like every day.
Did you take a lot of lessons?
I took lessons, that's right.
Wow. Well, you can take lessons if you want to play like Kyle and the rest of these folks here in town at the Bluegrass Museum. The sign-ups are the first week of February, and for as long as you're enrolled to take lessons, you can use one of their instruments. Who wants to play a game? Raise your hand. Oh, yes! Love this. Okay, I'm going to pick you, and when I pick you, you come up here. Keep your hand raised. What about you? You go stand by Caroline. What about you? And first to raise your hand and I'll call on you. They'll keep score. Okay, first question. Bill Monroe created which genre of music? You. Good job. Give her a hand. Okay, next question. Who crossed the Appalachian Mountains in 1775 to discover Kentucky? It was you. Close. Who thinks they know? Do you think you know it? I can see your wheels turning. Any of the rest of you think you know it? Was that close? Does anybody think they know? You! Yes. Daniel Boone. Good job. Hey, that was good. Daniel Boone discovered Kentucky. Okay, next question. What is the type of music brought over by America's first settlers that influenced bluegrass? Yes. Yes, good job. Okay. Next question. What was Bill Monroe's famous band's name? You. You knew it. Oh, time's up. You on the end. No. What is Bluegrass Boys? Okay, last question. This is the hardest one. Where did the banjo come from? You were first on the end. Yeah! Okay, stay up here. Hey, great job. Give your friends a hand. Thank you so much for having fun with us today. We're going to leave you with a traditional bluegrass song. Let me
After the concert, I caught up with a couple students at Newton Parrish Elementary to see what they thought of the band.
I actually enjoy bluegrass music. I think it's really cool. In the game, I like it because when you play, it shows what you learned. Some of my family, long ago, some knew Bill Monroe, and my grandpa, he introduced me into the bluegrass music, and I just started to really like it. I like the sound of it, and also my great-great-grandfather Bill, he played it, and he would take them apart and sign his name in and put it back together.
I like the music because in my family, we have a lot of music in common, a lot of us, but in my mom's part of the family, we don't, but in my dad's, we have a lot. So I liked that music. I like the way the banjo sounds. I don't know how to play it though. I think they thought it was very unusual because in school, you're supposed to be quiet and do work and stuff, and this is just a fun thing, but you're still learning.